Welcome to Fun is Fundamental. Fun is Fundamental is a podcast for those who realize that the enjoyment of life is about having something deep in our souls which lights our fire. It's for those who maybe have lost that fire and feel like they are missing out on the pleasures of life. In each episode, I will share recent fun activities and focus on why having fun is essential for good health. I'm your host, Alenia, and I invite you to take this journey with me and join the pleasure-seeking movement.
Hello. This episode of Fun is Fundamental is intended for entertainment purposes, and I encourage you to do your own research. Today, my guest is Darlene Greene, and we have a whole conversation around stem cell activation, these patches, and obviously, we are learning a lot about stem cells, but there is a question, I feel like, about if these patches really do what they claim to do. So just take this episode with a grain of salt, and it's still a fun episode. I still really enjoy talking to Darlene, and I hope that you enjoy it.
Good morning, Darlene. How are you doing today?
Morning, Lily. Yeah, it's an honor to be with you today. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for being on. So I guess first, do you want to tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure.
What brings you here?
Hi, I am Darlene Greene. I'm a retired Navy commander. I served for 20 years in the Navy and had 3 commanding officer tours. Then I went into technology, and I'm a director of client services for a network security and technology company. And more recently, I've always been very fascinated and interested in the field of biohacking and health, holistic alternative approaches to good health, system health, really. And in the journey to assist my husband, who has early Alzheimer's, I entered and explored the field of stem cells, and more recently discovered a technology that helps to activate and rejuvenate and regenerate our own stem cells, as opposed to having injections or IVs of other people's stem cells, which have been dramatic for him, for me, for my family, for my friends. And so now I've entered a new sphere of passion, really, for me, where I help people get out of pain and get healthy. And I do that by helping them activate their stem cells. And so I'm basically a stem cell activation technology consultant on that front.
Nice. For anyone that doesn't know, what do stem cells do for us?
That's a great question. So stem cells are your body's raw materials. That's what made you when you were first born. They can become really anything in your body. They can not only become bone or cartilage or muscle, brain, lungs, kidney, any organ, skin. They do some other things too, but they reduce inflammation. They trigger the death of old cells. They self-replicate. When you first came together as 2 cells, those were pluripotent stem cells. And when we're 30, half of our stem cells are dormant. And when we're 60, they're almost all dormant. And I'm 59. So before I started patching, my little stem cells were sleeping on the job, but now they're all working for me, and I feel great. So, yeah.
What has this technology, and we'll talk more about what this specifically does more later, but how has it affected your own health?
Well, I didn't marry well the first 2 times, Lillian, and part of the output of that essentially was multiple autoimmune disorders, from PTSD to just, I think, the stress of it all. So I ended up with chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, rosacea, and probably the one that was most impactful more recently was POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia. And when I say long time, the first one was diagnosed, and actually thyroid disease too, had to have my thyroid removed. So I began struggling with my health about in 91. And in 96 was diagnosed with chronic fatigue, in 99 fibromyalgia, in 2005 or six POTS. So I've been struggling with these autoimmune disorders a lot of my life. And that's why I've been seeing naturopathic and holistic doctors, because Western medicine doesn't know what to do with this. And in fact, the approach for POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia, which by the way, causes you to pass out. I had actually blacked out entirely and knocked my head on the bathtub one time, and another time passed out and knocked my head on the corner of a door jamb. I was grounded for 2 weeks of no driving while they tried to figure out what was going on. And ultimately they said, you have really low blood pressure and you're not getting enough blood to the brain. So we want to put you on a medication to increase your blood pressure. That sounds like such a bad idea, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to increase your blood pressure so you get enough blood to the brain. So that's kind of where I was. On top of that, before I started patching with these, I was depressed because of my husband's early Alzheimer's, and I was in pain because I had broken my foot and sprained my ankle. And all the fun things I used to do to cope with my being a care provider 24/7 had sort of gone out the door. And immediately upon patching, for me, the first thing I noticed was it got me out of pain. And that was just huge. First time in 5 months I was out of pain. And then I had more energy, and then I had better sleep. And then my depression just lifted, and I was calmer, and I was more patient, and I was just happier. So I was a better care provider. And over time I noticed, I'm not aching anymore. I don't have any fibromyalgia aches and pains, which can feel like the flu. If anybody that has fibromyalgia knows, you really can't even tell the difference between the flu and fibromyalgia sometimes. Mm-hmm. And then I was also not passing out anymore. And I wasn't taking that medicine that caused me to increase my blood pressure. It was what I had to do previously, but I wasn't doing it while I was patching, just kind of testing it out. And I have not had to take that medicine in 13 months now at all. And I've had no fainting episodes, which, I was taking that daily, sometimes multiple times a day to keep me upright. And I think part of why that is that it revamps your cardiovascular system. And we can talk more about that later. Some other things that happened for me is it balanced my hormones, and it completely changed my skin. So I had rosacea, and dermatologists had been working on that for a really long time to no real effect. And the rosacea cleared up. My skin became really soft. I was kind of the person that had to just lather with like Cetaphil cream, not even lotion. Like lotion did nothing for me. I was in the thick, gooey, creamy stuff. And I would travel with the tub of Cetaphil cream, and I don't need that. Like my elbows are really soft. Everything is really soft. So it's really changed how I feel across the board. And I no longer have hunger or sugar cravings. That was huge for me because I've been a sugar addict my whole life since high school, I think. And I would white knuckle my way through it, but it just took all the discipline. It took a lot of discipline. And we didn't even have, like, we revamped the diet 4 years ago when my husband's diagnosis came in with early Alzheimer's. White sugar, white flour, no alcohol, no soda, only extra virgin olive oil and avocado oil and coconut, like all the things, only grass-fed, grass-finished, only organic. I mean, we really cleaned up everything. So it's not even like there's anything in this house that's really that bad, but that didn't keep me from wanting to emotionally eat or open the refrigerator door when I'm not hungry and kind of go, what do I want to munch on, or eating an entire bag of pistachios, right? So all of that just, I think it was a combination of reducing the anxiety, and also there is a patch that is actually known to reduce sugar and hunger cravings and addictions. And so it just took away that desire. And so I'm not having to white knuckle it. I don't even think about it. I actually am thinking I need to eat. Oh, you need to eat. Like I have to actually kind of make sure I eat now, because I don't emotionally eat anymore. So there's just been deeper sleep, way more energy, stronger, lost body fat, lost body weight. But not, one of the things when we're losing weight on the patches, it's actually toning. We're increasing muscle and losing body fat in differently than a lot of the drugs that are out on the market right now, which cause you to lose water and muscle right out of the gate. So I've been, and I was stuck on that. I was doing the exercise, I was eating healthy, and I was not able to trim down at all. And I was frustrated by that. And I'm now eating at least 3 times more than I was eating before. I mean, a lot more. And yet I'm losing body fat and really feeling stronger, much stronger than I was before. So all good things. And I hear myself, and I hear it. So I know someone is in there listening going, yeah, this is just too good to be true. I don't even believe a word you're saying. Like, I do get that, because I was the biggest skeptic on the planet. I was just like, yeah, I don't believe there's any way a non-transdermal patch that has no drugs or medicine is going to do that for you. There's just no way. It was just beyond the realm of possibility for me. But we were desperate, and we had nothing to lose. We had tried the stem cell IV for both myself and my husband. We had tried hyperbaric chamber. We had done the whole sleep protocol, the diet, all of the things. So it was out of sheer desperation. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do this for my husband, I'm going to try it for myself. And we got results in the first week for both of us. And I mean, the results for him were even, well, for me, more astonishing.
Mm-hmm. What were some of those results that you found in him?
Yeah. So, my husband declined what would normally be like a 13-year decline in 2 years. So his early Alzheimer's was super aggressive. They think it's because he has the APOE4 gene type, but also because it's early, it's more aggressive. And there are some that would say even because of the COVID vaccination, it's actually more aggressive. But he was at a state where his cognition was age 5. He was sleeping the day away. He was no longer communicating. He was just not talking. It was just too hard for him. I think he had trouble figuring out the words, but he wasn't even trying anymore. He wasn't his personality anymore. So his whole personality, as long as I've known him, is to be funny. He loves to be funny and make people laugh. And he wasn't even trying that anymore. He would ask the same questions 7 times in 3 minutes. Very hard on a care provider to act like that 7th time you are just hearing it for the first time and still just, joyful in your answer, right? So in that first week of patching, from the first day, actually, he didn't nap that 3.5-hour nap. He'd been doing that for a year. He didn't nap the 3.5-hour nap. He didn't fall asleep at 7 p.m. He was awake. He was alert. He was back to engaging in conversation and with it, like responding appropriately and funny and back to his personality again. And it was just, I can't even describe to you what it was like to get my husband back in a week. It was so meaningful and moving. And, we didn't, again, I didn't expect anything. And so when I'm watching this happen, I'm just like, what are these things? Like, that's when I began to look into it and say, oh, there are 90 clinical studies. Olympians were wearing this in the 2000, like over 300 Olympians were wearing these in the, top in the Kansas City Chiefs were. What are these things? And why have I never heard about them? And then I got to watch his deep sleep improve dramatically. And he regained skills like the ability to drum and the ability to whistle and the ability to smell, which he'd lost 15 years ago. Big neuro advancement, really. And his blood pressure dropped 37 points in just, I think, 2.5 months. His blood pressure dropped that dramatically. So lots of amazing things. Now, I will tell you, it has not reversed his Alzheimer's. Those things that have improved have stayed improved. They have not declined. He's still talking and funny and with it and awake, and all of those are great things. I'm hoping for more, but we shall see. I just wish I would have known about the technology 4 years ago, right at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe you like could have, maybe there would have been a possibility to reverse it if it had
I do
been caught
strongly believe,
early.
I do strongly believe that it would have. I think that your stem cells are the key to so much. I really think that most disease is a cellular dysfunction.
Mhm.
And one of the things I was looking for were, how do you improve the cell mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell, and how do you even measure the health of the mitochondria and those kinds of things in my early research. And these patches actually improve the mitochondrial health and the cellular functionality in so many different ways. So absolutely. And I just wish, it's part of why I talk. Like I will tell you, I am, if you would have looked at my social footprints 2 years ago, you would have seen that I had a daughter that graduated from the Naval Academy that I was very proud of, who went to Worlds for powerlifting. And then I had another daughter who graduated from the Air Force Academy and is amazing. And that would be all you knew, really, because I just didn't really post anything about my life. And after watching the amazing things that this has done for people, taking them out of, you ask, like, what is your pain level, 1 to 10, and they're at 15, and you drop them to 1 in less than a minute. The ability to do that for people is just the most extraordinary experience. And when you do that over and over again, it becomes something that I have a hard time not talking about. I just feel like I would be remiss in not sharing this, because somebody out there needs this right now. And whether they believe in it or not, there's a money back guarantee. You could just try it. You can just say, hey, I don't, after a month, I don't agree that it was worth my money, and they'll give you your money back. So it's a really, and it's not expensive. We paid $10,000 for an IV and an injection out of country, right? Because that's what we had to leave the country to go get stem cells.
Mhm.
Plus the trip, plus remember all of it, right? And one stem cell activation patch, 1 month supply is $99. Like, it's just not even that expensive. So why wouldn't you try? Or getting out of pain? This one sleeve of those is like $49 when you buy them in a pack of 3. So really pretty reasonable.
Well, and I mean, when you think about the costs of what, as a country, what we're dealing with
Hey.
like the opioid epidemic, and I mean, just there's so much happening in this country right now. And if we could, if people would know, could know more about this kind of thing and avoid these devastating things that are happening.
Avoid the drugs, avoid even mental health. I mean, as a military veteran, I just want to patch everybody. I want to patch all the veterans. I want to get you out of pain, and I want to take away your depression. I've probably given away more patches than you would believe. I have bought patches for people that I don't even know, because I think that they need them desperately and they couldn't afford them. And I just love to help people. It's so rewarding. It's been the silver lining of this very challenging journey. It's hard to lose your spouse. My husband is still cognitively age 5, right? So the husband I knew is not there anymore.
Yeah, and that slow grief that you are going through, I'm sure is, I mean, obviously it's hard to have someone pass away, but when you're they're slowly going over a long period of time, that's even harder.
It feels, I don't, I haven't really lost someone, point blank, like gone. I only have experienced this. I can't compare it, but I can just tell you, it is awful because it's like the death of 1,000 deaths. It's every day a new death. It's a new thing that's lost. It's a new experience, and there's no real end in sight. There's no, like, you still have physical death coming. You still have more loss coming. You know, you're right in the middle of it. And I know we talked about this, that in the middle of this grief and this very challenging part of life for me, I have to figure out how to not only take care of myself, but have joy, find peace, have fun. All of those are hard, and they take effort, intentional commitment to doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And I think that's whenever you're dealing with a loss like this, it, it does take real effort to, put in that time to try to have fun. Because it's not something that is necessarily going to come easily when you're
Right.
dealing with this kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. And I think grief is so sneaky. I had the great opportunity to attend my best friend since I was 4 years old, her 60th surprise birthday party. And, I was really looking forward to it. I had this little bag of great gifts, and I get up there, and I see her. She bursts into tears at the sight of me. We hug, right? And I spent the good part of that party almost in a panic attack, like just so having trouble breathing, having difficulty, it was really quite extraordinary. It was the first time in my entire life I've ever experienced anything like it. And it just came out of nowhere. And I honestly can't even explain what happened or why it happened, other than, and I think it was before everyone started asking me about Jim, but everyone started asking me about my husband, right? And so I spent a party talking about my husband and what's going on with him, and having just placed him in a group home, and that was gut-wrenching. So I was trying to have fun in the midst of really tough emotions, and kind of in a bit of a survival mode, quite honestly. Yeah. So grief is really unpredictable.
Yeah. It really is. And you have been playing the role of the caregiver, and the role of a caregiver is really hard too. Like, it's, really what you've been dealing with for so long, is some of the hardest situations anyone can be in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sorry that you've had so many challenges in the last, 5 years plus, 5+ years. Yeah.
Thank you. I spend part of my self-care is to keep a gratitude journal and think of all the things I'm grateful for. And I will say that my husband and I have had just the most beautiful marriage. It's just been, he is adorable and so sweet and such an angel. And there aren't many human beings like him on the planet. And so I was very blessed, and have been very blessed, to have him in my life. And it probably makes it twice as hard to lose him, because if he was a real arse, I would be like, this would be a lot easier. Yeah. But he is a sweetheart, and I am grateful, because I think most people in the world never experience the love that we've had, and I can cherish that. Although in some ways that makes the loss worse, right? So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, but I just try to spend a little bit more time thinking about all the things I'm grateful for, because as I understand it, it's harder to be sad when you're feeling grateful.
Yeah, I think that it is harder for them to coexist. Yeah. For sure.
Not impossible.
I don't think it's possible. I think you can feel gratitude and feel sadness, but yeah, it's just, I think gratitude is one of the best ways to get through hard times, because, they're hard because they were, good, right?
Yeah, and one of the things I learned, I did a pretty deep dive into happiness a while back when I was a dean of a boarding school, dean of Culver Girls Academy, and I had 360 girls boarding there that I was responsible for, and I gave presentations on increasing your happiness. And one of, when you look at the literature and behavioral economics and just happiness, and there's several books on it now, but most things take happiness and they kind of are like a sine wave. You go up and you come down and you're kind of all around that baseline. Very few things actually elevate the baseline of happiness, but gratitude is one of them that actually can elevate that baseline of happiness. And so that in and of itself makes it something worth considering, because good things will happen in your life and bad things will happen in your life, and we'll all be dealing with those. But if we can elevate that baseline of happiness, now we're making some progress.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Can we talk a little bit more about the science behind the stem cell patches?
Sure.
It's a little bit of a tongue twister. You said how many trials? You had said, I think.
Yeah, there are 90 clinical studies. Many are double-blind, placebo-controlled studies. And what's really cool is there are no side effects. There's no contraindications. There's no prescription required. They work through light therapy. They work the same way as when you walk out in the sun and the sun hits your skin and your body makes vitamin D. It's just like that. Or your body makes melanin for a suntan. The body understands that light is very powerful, and we've been actually using light therapy for 5,000 years. It's one of the oldest methodologies in the health world. But what this is doing is, if I were to look at you with night vision goggles on, I would see light inside of you. And so this little patch, it actually is like a little double-sided mirror. It's a little reflector. So it's reflecting your own light back at a very specific wavelength. Inside is a little lattice structure of nanocrystals. They degrade. That's why you wear the patch 12 hours and you take it off after 12 hours and then you put a new one on. But they reflect your light back at a very specific wavelength and elevate. The stem cell activation patch elevates copper peptide, which is a very big deal peptide. Peptides are kind of big in the whole holistic world right now, but copper peptide is just phenomenal, because copper peptide actually has these amazing benefits of anti-cancer, really good for the brain, really good for the heart, really good for the lungs, really good for tissue repair. It produces growth factors, protects lungs. It's really phenomenal. And you can just Google in PubMed GHK-Cu, and you can see the 50 years of studies on this copper peptide. And then our patent proves that we elevate this copper peptide through the patch. So it's a really safe, and I mean, we're distributed in 87 countries, and it just comes to your doorstep. There's a reason we're in 87 countries and we're just sort of growing like crazy. When you look at some of the science, like let's talk about just two of those of the 90 clinical studies. One of them was a brain study, and they were wearing the stem cell activation patch. And the very first, they did EEGs before wearing the patch, and then after 3 weeks of wearing it, 12 hours on, 12 hours off, and then after 6 weeks. And initially, the EEGs had red, and that red was a sign of inflammation and hypercoherence, which is a poor performing cross communication between left and right hemispheres. And then it had, after just 3 weeks, you see the EEG's colors change. You see yellows and greens and blues and these really beautiful colors coming in. And people begin reporting, I'm less anxious, I'm having some calmness, I'm actually thinking more clearly. And then at 6 weeks, you see a whole new color map, and the inflammation is down. So what the findings of this double-blind placebo-controlled study found, one, they did find that it elevated GHK-Cu. Not surprisingly, the patent proved that anyway, but nice to see it in another study. And it supported cell and nerve regeneration. That's pretty big. Like, nerve regeneration is not an easy thing for anybody to do, and cell regeneration is huge. It improved the nervous system. It lowered anxiety, which I got to experience. And then it decreased brain inflammation, which they saw on the brain scan. And it improved memory and focus and cognition, which I got to watch in my husband, just like that really quickly. So most people, it takes 3 to 6 weeks to see that, but maybe when you're in a really compromised state, the change is more noticeable. They did notice that task processing improved as well. And in fact, the more complex the task, the more improved people were in those studies. Wearing this has an effect of, in first 24 hours, it resets 4,000 genes to their younger, healthier state. And those are, everything from 83 cancer-fighting genes to, other kinds of genes. Another study was on the vascular system. And if you think about it, our vascular system goes from the top of our head to the bottom of our feet, right? Well, in 6 weeks, participants saw improvements in their vascular system. And very specifically, in 6 weeks, the cardiovascular system began to function as if it were 8 weeks younger. Well, I think that is exactly what happened for me. And I think by revamping my cardiovascular system, I'm now getting the proper amount of blood to the brain. And I think that's why I don't pass out anymore. That's why I don't have issues with POTS anymore. I mean, there's no cure for any of those autoimmune disorders that I told you, but I have no symptoms of any of them right now. And that is remarkable. We're not allowed to make medical claims. We're not allowed to say we prevent, treat, or cure diseases. We're just a wellness product that's kind of in the same category as a Band-Aid. I can only tell you my experience, and my symptoms have gone away, because what it does is it's basically helping the body optimize its own ability to heal. It's really my body that is healing myself, and the innate wisdom it has within it, right? There's no medicine coming in from the patch doing that.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I think that we are obviously in a time where the science of what we're learning about the human body is growing at such a huge rapid rate that it's hard to keep up with all the things that we're learning about how amazing our bodies are, what all the things that we're capable of. And it's definitely an exciting time to be alive to see what else is going to come too, because I think we're just scratching the surface. Yeah. And so I think that's the thing, people can have skepticism about this, but we're learning so much that why not just go read some of the things about it, kind of thing, because it's I think we're just going to keep learning more amazing things. And I mean, we're still early in the learning about telomeres and things like that,
Yes, and this actually lengthens a couple of the patches lengthen telomeres, and they do more than just keep them from getting shorter and shorter. They actually lengthen. I've not heard of anything that lengthens telomeres. I've heard of things like curcumin that protect the telomeres from getting shorter, but they start getting shorter the moment we're born. So, I have a friend who texted me after being on the patches 1 month. And this is a funny story, Melania, you'll appreciate this, because she's basically said, my blood pressure stabilized in the 130s after having been in the 170s for more than a year. My right knee pain and swelling is gone. My allergy attacks stopped. My vertigo stopped. My tinnitus stopped. My acid reflux stopped. I've lost 5 pounds. I'm doing laps in the pool every day for an hour without having sore muscles, fatigue, or sunburn. And I said, oh my gosh, can I record a testimonial for you? And she said, no, not yet. Darlene, when are my wrinkles going to go away? So, I mean, it's funny that once people start to get a little bit of the magic and they see all of these results, it's like the sky's the limit and they know it. So, we're a little bit of an impatient society, right?
We are.
All of those things in 1 month is crazy fabulous. And I would say 80% of people experience something in 3 to 6 weeks. But it's meant to be, a month for every decade you are old to regenerate all of those stem cells. And we didn't get into this situation overnight. We're not going to get out of it overnight. So cellular regeneration and activating those stem cells can take some time, although people can have some pain relief fairly quickly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you were saying like pretty much instantly, some people can have
pain relief. In fact, there was a pretty impressive study that was done. They've done a lot of studies actually in hospitals and other things, but in one, 100% of subjects experienced pain relief an hour after application on day one, and 77.5 experienced more than 4 levels of pain reduction on day 5, to the point where almost no one had any pain. And this study went on 12 weeks, and they patched for 8 weeks with only the pain patch. And at the end of the 8 weeks, they stopped patching for the last 4 weeks. And they found that in that last 4 weeks, they didn't have any pain, even though they weren't patching anymore. So it's actually, and there are thermal imaging that you can actually see the cooling of the body, basically, when you patch your back, the back goes from red and inflamed essentially to yellows and greens, has sort of an effect like blue laser. It's sedating that excess energy and the connective tissue and reducing the inflammation that's causing pain. So really and it doesn't matter if the pain is nerve or muscle or stiffness or migraines or headaches, or it doesn't really matter. I used to never go anywhere without my migraine medicine, because I would end up in the ER if it went, if I didn't get it taken care of quickly, it was all over. And I had been to the ER probably 3 times, at least maybe 3, maybe 4, vomiting on the way and really sick, right? With migraines are horrible. You just want to die. Mm-hmm. And so I never went anywhere without my migraine medicine. And now I don't even know where it is. I don't know where it is because I just don't go anywhere without my pain patches. And if I haven't even had headaches. Like I used to have pretty regular headaches, but I don't really anymore. So, but I don't go anywhere without my pain relief patches, because I always run into someone who's got an issue and I'm like, can I get you out of pain? I would love to patch you for that, and just put a few patches on them and knock that pain out. So it's really fun.
Yeah, I can imagine like seeing them like, oh, I feel so much better,
Yeah. I've had nurses and I've had a nurse who was just like, Darlene, I don't know. I don't get it. I said, I understand. So, where are you hurting? And she said, well, I think it was her knee that was hurting. So I patched her knee and her pain went away. And she just said, okay, I don't understand how that just worked at all, but I'm willing to give this a try. And before you know it, she had very severe gut issues, migraines, just really bad. And she, just in a couple of weeks, that started to dramatically improve. So yeah, really, really fun.
Yeah. So you've talked about how there's like different kinds of patches. Like how many kinds of patches are there?
I think it's like 11. I should know that off the top of my head. But mostly, you really don't need to use you can just use one. You can just use the stem cell activation patch if you are patient, and will take the time. Over time, that will do the job. Some of us are very impatient, and inflammation eats up stem cells. So I like to, if anybody's got an issue that they're trying to resolve, I like to reduce the inflammation while I elevate and activate their stem cells, so that we get a better response more quickly. Mm-hmm. And so those 2 patches I love first. If someone is dealing with, it depends on, there are a couple patches that can really help with renewal of cartilage. There was a study done where if you put 2 of these patches on, one different on each knee, one that raises the levels of glutathione in the body and the other that it reduces inflammation, 100% of the study participants were supposed to go forward and have surgery. They wore these patches for it was 2 or 3 months, I can't remember. And after wearing the patches, none of them went on to have knee surgery. None, because it regenerated their cartilage. Wow. So it's really, what are you trying to achieve? That's where I come in. I understand what each of the patches do. I understand if if you've had the big virus through the pandemic and you have spike proteins, if you had the vaccination, you have spike proteins, and those spike proteins can affect your gut and your lungs and your brain and your heart, and they don't go away. So spike proteins requires a protocol to get them to go away. And there are other options, pharmaceuticals and such, that will do that. Or we have a 3-patch system, my 3 favorite patches, the stem cell activation patch, the anti-inflammation patch, and that glutathione patch, and those 3 will knock out those spike proteins in just 2 months. So you don't have to do that forever, although people that have the highest levels of glutathione live the longest. So it's your body's master antioxidant and detoxifier. So it's a great thing to have high levels, but they're just different patches for different things. There's energy, there's sleep, there's skin, there's one that's really good at improving muscle tone and reducing body fat, and actually has been known to have a lot of people improve hair growth. My husband's bald spot just kind of closed up, and his hair came in no longer gray, came in darker brown, and I had never seen him with darker brown hair. I'm having to color my hair a lot less as a result of the patches, because it's just not coming in gray like before. So really kind of neat. And I like that one has been proven to adjust the body tone and improve bone density, which is great. Stability, right? So when I look at things like my mom, right? She's 83 and wobbly, like both my parents were a little wobbly. And that's where you start to get tremendous risk of fall, and then they break the hip, and then it's downhill. And so it's very important to me that they be on the stem cell activation patch, and also this other patch that is so proven to increase their bone density and their muscle strength.
Well, yeah. This has been a very fascinating conversation. I'm definitely gonna look up more information. I'm like, wow, this is fascinating. I always like to ask my guests, how do you define fun?
Yeah, I think fun is, it's joy, it's laughter. It can be something spontaneous that occurs in this moment, unexpected, or it can be something that you plan. And it doesn't really matter as long as there's joy and laughter, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I mean, sometimes like the most fun things are just spontaneous, that it just happened and you just start cracking up. Like,
Exactly. I mean, it can be as simple as a phone conversation that just causes you to laugh, right? It can be anything.
Yeah, definitely. I also like to find out what people's play personality is. Mm-hmm. So according to the Institute of Play, there are 8 play personalities, and you can be more than one. There's the Joker, kinesthetic, competitor, creative, explorer, storyteller, collector, and director.
Okay. I would say kinesthetic. I would say that for the movement of the body, I think I love playing pickleball, and I love doing exercises and moving around, but I also love touch. So, soft things, and I'm the kind of person in the museum that they have to put the signs up to say don't touch, because I just want to touch the sculptures, and I really like it when I'm in a kids museum where you can touch everything.
Yeah.
Water, and touch the little sea creatures or whatever.
Oh, I love the touch ponds. Oh my goodness. The little tide pool thing.
Yes, yes.
I'm gonna help this creature.
Yes, that's me.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Well, I've had a really great conversation with you. Where can the audience find you?
My website is called I Am Reverse Aging. So it's IamReverseaging.com. And they can reach out to me from there. They can just say, contact Darlene, and they can tell me, where they're calling from or texting from. So I have a time zone, because I've got people from all over the world, really, from New Zealand to Australia, that reach out. And they can also see the patents. They can see the 90 clinical studies on the website. They can learn all about copper peptide. There are videos that talk about how it's working from the inventor or other doctors doing discussions. There are testimonials. There are what to expect, and then they can buy the patches from there. But I would personally rather they reach out and talk to me, so I can make sure that they're getting what they need and not getting what they don't need, and that they're getting the best pricing, because I can offer pricing. Most people, when they look at the website, they'll see $150 for the stem cell activation patch or $79 for the anti-inflammation patch, and I can get that to them for $99 and $49 through sort of special kits. And it's just what I love to do, is to help people save money and get well. And then I can hold their hand through the process. Like, say you need to drink water, you need to drink half your body weight in ounces in water every day that you're patching. That's the only real requirement, is to drink water, and preferably to have some electrolytes so that your body has the ingredients necessary to make those stem cells.
Okay. Can you just explain that just a tiny bit, why the water and electrolytes are needed?
Yeah, our we're so much water. We're like 80% water, and our communication systems happen through signaling through water, and the cell needs water, and the water only gets into the cell with a certain level. Like, you need a little bit of salt, or you need minerals, and so the electrolytes really kind of help get the water into the cell. And anytime we see somebody like that's not having results, often we can say, just chug a glass of 8 ounces of water right now, and all of a sudden they'll actually immediately experience improvement in their results. And also, there's a bit of detoxification that takes place with the stem cell activation patch. It alone will elevate your glutathione levels by 30%. So when that starts to happen, it starts to dump toxins out of the lymph nodes, and you need to get rid of it. So you need to pee it out, or poop it out, or sweat it out, right? And that takes liquid, it takes water to do that. And if you're not drinking enough water, then it's in there floating around, and it can make you feel yucky. But if you're drinking enough water, now it's going to flow out, and you're going to be fine.
Well, thank you so much for being on.
Well, thank you, Lillian. It was just, I appreciate what you do. I appreciate your podcast. It's brought me joy and ideas of how to create fun in my life every day. So thank you for sharing fun and joy in the world.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm glad that you've gotten something out of it.
Yeah, I really have. Thank you.
Thank you.